Okay.
Hello, beloveds. Welcome to our Amazing Love service for this Sunday, December 26, 2021. And in a moment, Rev Sam is going to join me up here, and we are going to start our service.
Yes, we are. So we're going to start off. I'm going to have Jenna do our land acknowledgement that she's done week after week, and I know people love that, and I really appreciate that. So I'll leave that one up to you.
Wonderful. As a bit of justice and as a bit of love and reverence to the land itself, I want to offer up and light a candle for the beings whose ancestral home that this is. The Ute, the Cheyenne, and Arapaho people, and the language and the memory and the story that is still imbued within the land with which we are on. Love and gratitude for all of that. Love and gratitude to the earth and to the soil and to the bones and to the dust.
Then I wanted to go into the, let's see what we got. Oh, the prayer, the Magi prayer. If you'll do that.
Sure. So I'm going to read the Magi prayer for us. So just taking a moment to breathe in and out, and wherever you are in the world, let these words wash over you and bathe you and hold you in whatever it is that you're holding. Make me a Magi, God. Make me someone who looks up and wonders. Someone ready to leave my comfort and journey, not knowing exactly the destination. Make me a seeker of possibility, a searcher for truth, one who asks questions when I lose my way. Make me someone who listens to dreams, who accepts not only my own mind, but is open to the messengers of yours. Make me someone who kneels in sacred places even when my legs are tired, who celebrates when they meet the Holy Child, who gives gifts without counting the costs. Make me someone who travels a new way, willing to accept new hardship to protect others from the powers of the day. Oh, make me a Magi, God, that I might glimpse your aha, and with that epiphany alive in my heart, travel on.
Wow. Can't believe I found that. I just got it, and it was like, whew, it just hit me, wow, that was quite a reading. Thank you. And then this one I thought was really good. So we're going to talk a little bit this morning about, it's almost noon, we're going to talk about the Magi. Who were those wise men, those pagans from the East? And so I want us to kind of talk about that. So if you'll do that reading.
Those wise pagans. Pagan wise men from the East came to worship Jesus Christ. They were pagan mystics, magi, magicians who were skilled in the metaphysical arts. While centuries later the term magus would be seen as an evil thing, Marsilio Ficino reminded Renaissance readers that the Gospels had no problem the title in honoring those who were themselves magi as the first ones who came to worship Jesus. In this work, the first of all were the magi who worshiped the Christ child at his birth. Why, therefore, should you be afraid of the name Magus as if it were terrifying? It is a name pleasing to the Gospels, not something wicked and venomous, but signifying a wise man and a priest. Was not a Magus the first worshiper of Christ? It sadly had become common for Christians to denigrate pagan myths and traditions, to reject any true connection between Christianity and the pagans of old. When they do that, they undercut the work of Christ. He was the expectation of the nations, The Messiah, the incarnate God-man, completed the human condition, uniting all of humanity together. He prepared the way for that unity in and with all nations, and so all nations have something to hand over and give of themselves. We are to take and embrace all the truths, the rays of light found all over the world, and bring them together in Christ. The Magi, representing the pagan, showing the pagan with their wisdom, could connect with true prophetic spirit and be led beyond their traditions, mixed as they were with good and bad, to the fullness of truth in Christ. The Magi were the first fruits of the world harvest of God. They came to love, honor, and worship Christ. Their love of wisdom opened them up to the wisdom of God, whereby they show how even the pagan traditions, God can be and will be honored. We must not fear any similarity or pagan connections found in our faith, for it is clear Christ has welcomed us all as he welcomed the Magi.
So just kind of quickly, what does that make you think after reading that prayer and these readings? What stands out for you?
I think for me, not only the expectation of two paths meeting, but the necessity of them meeting. The necessity of, and the brilliance and the inner knowing that these wise men had to see divinity in all of its forms, regardless of whatever label that it was given.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So what I wanted to talk about today was I want to talk about those pagan wise men. Because I think my daughter this week kept saying, what about the wise men? What about the wise men? You know, we did Christmas Eve and we talked about Mary and but she said, what about the wise men? And so I thought, well, okay, we're going to talk about the wise men today. And so we're a little confused because I had said we weren't going to have a service on Sunday, but here we are. So you and I made it. But I do want to let everybody know that today Desmond Tutu passed away. And this is one of my favorite books called The Book of Joy that he wrote with the Dalai Lama. And so I just really, if you're looking for a book that will just kind of speak to your heart, this is an incredible book. And they were just two funny guys. It seemed like sometimes when you watch them talk, there was something beautiful in their relationship. This Buddhist monk and this Anglican archbishop, and they had this beautiful relationship with each other. And I think you can find it with each other, and they did, and it was beautiful. So that's kind of my thought. And so we want to remember today Desmond Tutu. And if you haven't have a chance, you can go onto YouTube and see a lot of conversations between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. So I would encourage you to do that. So what about those wise men, those pagans from the East? And what's behind the story? What happened in Bethlehem during the reign of Herod, this Roman leader, this Jewish leader. And here comes these astrologers, and from the East they arrive in Jerusalem, and they ask this simple question: where is the newborn ruler of the Jews? And so they saw the star rising, and they wanted to come and pay homage. And the story is that Herod got angry because he saw that as a challenge to his rule as a leader. And so he was trying to manipulate these pagans, these astrologers, so he could find the Christ child, find Mary, Joseph. My gut feeling is, I don't think it was as holy a moment as we like to make it. I think there was this very insecure Herod who wanted to, kill anyone who would challenge his role. And you can jump in wherever you feel in this, but they were looking for the star, and Herod kind of used him to go back and find the child for him, so he could kill this supposed new king of the Jews. I think that's what he really wanted. And so the story is they found the child, they found Mary, and they worshiped him. And everything came to a standstill, and they saw the star, and they prostrated themselves, paid homage to the child and to Mary, and they opened up their own coffers and gave him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And the story is that they were warned in a dream not to go back to Herod. And so they left. And that night, Joseph and Mary also were warned, and they headed to Egypt. And so they got out of town. And so Herod became furious because the astrologers, the pagan wise men, had outsmarted him and didn't come back. And so he gave orders to kill all male children around Bethlehem. And so he had learned from the astrologers that this child had been born. So I've always been fascinated by this story of these wise men. It never made sense to me that they were kings. We all grew up with the song, "We Three Kings of Orient Are," and we sang this, but I think they were just pagan wise men, astrologers. And I was reading in my studies this week, that they were probably from Yemen or from Persia, and they had no connection to Judaism at all. They were mystics, they were wise men, they were astrologers. And somehow in all of this, in divine providence and divine planning, they were chosen to see beyond the natural. They were chosen to see something that nobody else could see. And they were chosen to see and understand something that was unique. I don't know how that speaks to your heart, but I'd be interested in your thoughts in that.
Are you asking me to offer right now?
Yes.
Yeah. As you're speaking, one of the things that comes to my mind is not to undercut the role that justice plays in the story. In the sense that the Magi were these wise men. They were these magicians. They were these holy men in whatever traditions that they were coming in. And despite the fact that the emperor, the king, the power that be, who wanted absolutely no challenge to their power, that despite that these holy beings came and offered their solidarity to this tiny child who was born in a stable to a young mother.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a lot of justice that is in that act. And as you're speaking, I love the fact that they are these holy men, and they are embedded within their traditions, and despite their traditions, they come to this young child, born in a manger, right? Like born in a place where there's usually other life, wildlife or domestic life, and so there's something really powerful about that.
I think the other thing is they came and they saw God, the protector of everyone, not just Jews.
Mhm.
They actually came so far out of their element
Mhm.
in this story and found this Jewish child
Mhm.
and saw God connected to everyone
Mhm.
and everything. That to me is beautiful. And they were outside of that traditional framework of Judaism, and they were they had an understanding that was unique, and that in their pagan traditions, there was something beautiful in that. And I think that was amazing that we can understand that. So I guess my thought is, what can I, as a Christian, take from this? That's the one question. Do we think that God is now working in completely different ways, and that was a one-time occurrence and it could never happen again? I find that assumption dangerous,
Mhm.
to think that that was a one-time thing, and now God can only speaks to us this way.
Right.
Whether it's some form of Christianity, whether it's Catholicism, whether Protestant experience, we ignore other voices that are out there. And that's a dangerous place to be.
I agree with you, and I also think that focusing on the label completely denigrates the wisdom and the necessity of the act,
Mhm.
which was these people coming together to just create right relationship. You know, the very fact of the matter is that in this time, you know, Jewish people it was an occupied territory.
Yeah.
There was an occupation.
Mhm.
And so if we're going to focus on any label, let's look at the label of like who was being oppressed in that time and who
Mhm.
wasn't. And there are so many avenues and streams with which to come into this story.
Yeah, I agree. And the story of the wise men testifies of this reality that God speaks beyond what we think is normal. It pushes us out of our boxes. We don't like our box. I like my box. I'm comfortable in my box, and it always stretches me when I have to go. Okay, I can crawl out of the box. I can look beyond that and see that there's something bigger and wider and larger. That's what the wise men, these pagan wise men, do to me. Is they push me out of my box and my comfort zone and realize that it's only in my pride and my arrogance that I think that God can't speak through them and use them, and today, even now.
And if I may, just maybe say something about the word pagan.
Mhm.
Pagan is a word that probably they would never use for themselves.
No.
At all. Pagan is a word that has more derivations from like Roman and Europe, you know, and pagan as a word derived from the word paganus, doesn't mean a polytheistic practitioner. What it means to them, or what the derivative of that word is people whose spirituality was close to the earth.
Mm.
And it is about, you know, earth, people who were more earth-centered. And so I think that it's really, really important to use these terms as far as, you know, and understand the derivations of them.
Yeah, absolutely. As we come to I'm going to say the close of the season. We've been here a lot this week. We've been here a lot for the last month, starting with Advent, and this year, I just have wanted to do this for so long, is we were able to share with Advent, lighting the Advent candles of love and joy and hope and peace, and the Christ candle in the center. You lit the Yule candles, and I love the fact that we brought these two traditions together that are connected. They overlap and they connect with each other. Even to the tree that we have in the corner, to the lights, the candles, it's just amazing to me that we did that. And so I think there's some beauty in that we discovered together. that we wouldn't have done. So when we had the candles over here, and we had the candles over here, and we lit the Yule candle and the Advent candle, we discovered something together. So we learn from the story of the wise men, these pagan wise men who brought gifts. They brought gifts. They brought something of themselves to this child, to these wise men from outside of Jerusalem, from outside of Israel, brought gifts of themselves. And they brought it, and so what do we bring of ourselves? I guess that was, I was thinking when I was reading this, what do I bring to the table? What do we bring? We think of God problematizes and complicates all of our comfortable perspectives. We get comfortable doing our thing. And it's kind of what you and I are talking about today is before we got on here, is we're both comfortable in our own elements, and I want us to challenge each other out of that comfort zone, and out of our settled opinions, out of our presumptions, out of our religious thought or our otherwise thinking. But we do it humbly. We do it with a mindset that I want to be more like the wise men, and not like Herod and the religious leaders of that day. That's the thought that came to my mind as I'm reading the story. I want to be more like the wise men than the Jewish leaders.
When you said that just now, my impulse was, just as these two seemingly different, and I say seemingly, emphasizing seemingly here, coming together, I'm wondering if maybe we could take a moment when it feels right to light these candles at the same time, to symbolize the convergence of what we're both bringing to this.
I like that. In fact, let's do that now. We got, 2 more candles there?
Yeah.
To light, let's light those candles.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
we will light them together, so I'll let you light first.
I'm actually going to use this Yule as a way to continue to bring in the stream of the earth-centered and just transcendental spirituality that I'm trying to bring in.
And this I'm going to light is thinking of the 4 candles that we lit: love, hope, peace, and joy, and what they mean to us in our common ground, in our unique traditions, but that we can experience those things together, not just this season, but all the time.
That's right.
And so
Okay.
we light that together. So I want to invite us, if you're watching us from home, to, I'm going to call it the invitation of open hands. When we pray, we present our open hands. And every tradition presents their time in open hands. And I want to read a prayer from Desmond Tutu, since he passed away today. And so, truly, it is not good for man to be alone. For no one can be a human alone. We are sisters and brothers of one another, whether we like it or not. And each one of us is a precious individual. It does not depend on things such as ethnicity, gender, political, social, economic, religious, or educational status, which are all extrinsic. Each person is not just to be respected, but to be revered as one created in the divine image. To treat one such as if they were less than this is is not just evil, which it is not just painful, as it frequently tends to be for the one at the receiving end of whatever discrimination or injustice is involved. No, it is veritably blasphemous, for it is to spit in the face of God. Holy One, as we pour our gifts, we remember all the ways you have poured out your love in our lives. We remember your words of affirmation. We hear your words of blessings in our lives. Help us to respond through word and action to the ancient call of work, witness, mission, and ministry through the example that you gave us. We pray in all of your holy names. Amen. I hope that this helped you, everybody that watches. And I answered some questions. I don't have all the answers. And I don't think anybody else does either. It's a story. It's a story written in sacred text that, we don't all understand all the ins and outs of it. We don't understand all the drama behind it. How these wise men, what led them to this star. But I have a feeling that they were spoken to in dreams and visions, which is not unusual for mystics and these wise men. And I think we can learn from them. So sometimes when we have to come out of our comfort zones, it's a good thing. So for everybody out there that's watching, I know this may not feel uniquely Christian. Not trying to. We're talking about wise men, pagans, mystics, magicians. And so for those of us from more of a Christian perspective, it rattles our brains. How about you? It might be something a little more common for you and understanding and have a different perspective than mine.
Well, I think that the story simplified, I am in awe with the message of when one listens to one's intuition, how it could lead one to divinity and fellowship and bridge crossing and magic.
Yeah.
And all of which can happen even when there are other more pervading forces that seek to oppress and belittle and minimize voices.
I want to thank everybody for being with us. We will be back again on Sunday, next Sunday, and we would love to have you here join us in person. I kind of want to share this thought because this came out of our conversation. This is not your grandma's church. We're not trying to be. We are whatever it is that we're going to be from week to week. I have no idea. We're still trying to figure out what interfaith is. What it is to me and what it is to you might be two different things, but we're exploring that. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I want to share this one thought in closing is that when you come here and join us, what I want you to feel is that you're loved. Whatever you come with, you're loved. Whatever you bring in the door, you're loved. And we're just happy that you're here, and we want to bring something good into your life. And I don't know what the truth is. I'm not trying to discover that. I'm just trying to discover and experience love. and we will learn how to love each other. Just like the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, they had such an incredible relationship, and one was a Buddhist and one was an Anglican. It doesn't get as, they were just two completely different people, but they just had this love for each other that was just amazing. And when I would watch them speak, and they would laugh and giggle and joke with each other, and it was amusing. It was hilarious sometimes. And but they developed this beautiful relationship and learned how to speak, respect each other's language, and learn how to understand each other's language. And in some ways, learn how to speak each other's language. That's what we're going to do here. We're just going to learn how to speak each other's language. That's where my heart's at. So that's all I've got today. I think we did it in 20 minutes, 25.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go shut the camera off. And I know Jenna probably, her blood sugar drops about this time. And so we want to make sure we kind of wrap it up so she can come on home. But I hope you had a great holiday season. And as we go into the new year, I'm excited about what the new year brings to us, with you and I here together in this ministry, Amazing Love Sanctuary. And I just think it's going to be a beautiful experience.
Before we turn the cameras off, if I may, can I blow the candles forward that we just lit to our next Sunday?
Yes, so I'm going to go get behind the camera and let you do that.
So for those of you who may be watching from home and are at this part, I love at the end of every service, every ceremony, every ritual, I love to blow the candles forward, mainly to set the intention of reconvening as a fellowship, but also to, just end the sacred time that was this time together. And so in the spirit of honoring once again the Ute, Cheyenne, Arapaho people, and as well in that same breath, in honoring the earth, air, fire, and water, the breath in our bones, everything that is of matter in our world, I blow out these candles as well as blow forward into our next convening the intentions that we set here today. And so it is.